This retaining wall has a lot of hidden engineering strength, so we've added some additional structure into this. Prepare the concrete block in the corner of this wall. We'll let this concrete set up the corner blocks in the exact right position to lock these blocks together. Last week we got this corner set, and today we're going to be working on the third course.
Close the door and leave the light on. The morning light should be coming soon. Kick off your shoes and leave the winter and the pain it brings to you. Lay your head upon my shoulder. Shut off your thoughts and clear your mind.
This retaining wall has a lot of hidden engineering strength behind it. So this wall is key in holding all this dirt up. It has to hold up many tons of soil, which is 1 meter high. So we've added some additional structure into this hollow block wall that's full of concrete. Today we're going to be installing extra block in the corner of this wall, which effectively doubles the thickness of the wall to help hold the whole system together. Our first step is to prepare the concrete block like we've been doing with our other concrete block, which is to make some cutouts on our wet saw so the rebar can pass through it. Because this part of the structure will be hidden behind the corner of the wall, we're not using the split face charcoal block, we're using a standard grey block. We can't quite make all the cuts we need to on the wet saw, so we finish off the block with our small grinder. After washing off all the dust, we place our block in the corner of this wall. I'm using some of the scrap concrete offcuts as packers to get this to the right height. We check with our level to make sure they're lined up and plumb and in the right position. With this cornerstone in place and set at the right level, we add 2 more blocks either side and then fill them with concrete. We pour our concrete in as gently as possible, as there's nothing actually holding these blocks to anything until we get this concrete set up inside them. After we've added our first small batch of concrete, we agitate it with our trowel and try and push the concrete underneath the big gaps that we've created. We work the concrete through all the blocks in all the nooks and crannies and make sure we've got a thorough coverage around the bottom of the blocks where the large gaps are. Once I'm satisfied that the bottom of the blocks have enough concrete to bond them to our foundation, I top it up with some more concrete and then smooth it off. We'll let this concrete set up as we move our attention to the other corner of the wall. In the last episode, we laid the ground blocks for this corner turnaround. We laid our starting blocks on the solid concrete stepped foundation we'd poured earlier. Now that the concrete's all set that we filled the blocks with yesterday, we're going to put another course on top so we can finish off this full turnaround wall section. We're using the same method we did yesterday, making sure the corner block's in the exact right position, then connecting the other blocks until we reach the end of our wall with our end block. When we're satisfied all the blocks are lined up and plumb, we fill them with concrete.
Been on the road so long, chasing fame and fortune on the run, but I ain't never felt this free. You rescue me. All those Southern Comfort nights, flashing signs and neon lights, couldn't know me like you do. God, I miss you.
I'm adding rebar into the concrete to lock these blocks together, and we're also adding in some vertical pieces to lock the blocks in later next week after this concrete sets up. Last week we got this corner set, been putting all our steel in as we go. So this is our lower end of the wall. We've got 2 courses down, and today we're going to be working on the 3rd course. We're going to need about 30 small pieces of rebar. These will be going in the slots that we cut in the blocks that connect through to the foundation. We need one of these small pieces of rebar sitting inside every slot of all blocks along this course of the wall. The steel rebar ties into the concrete foundation we're going to pour on the back of this wall later as a way of doubling the thickness of this wall on the first bottom 2 courses. This is a key part of the engineering of making this retain the soil behind this wall and will add a lot of strength to the system. We need to have these tied in before we put our next course of block on top. Here we're using purpose-made wire tabs for tying rebar down, but any tie wire could be used for this process. We need to tie this rebar together so when we pour the concrete later it doesn't fall out of alignment. I'm just pre-bending these small tabs of wire into a U shape so then I can twist them on with my fingers, and then we tighten the whole system up with the pliers.
I'm so tired of calling your phone. I wanna see you face to face. We can go anywhere that you want. You don't have to see it my way.
So the plan today is to cut all these blocks with their cutouts using our wet saw. We set up a production line here because we've got a lot of blocks to cut and a lot of slots to cut in them. There's 4 slots for every block to create a passage for the rebar. The good news is we only really need to do this for the bottom couple of courses of this wall because the top of the wall doesn't have any slots on the back of it as it stands free of the dirt. I like to get into a rhythm doing this kind of process for safety and also for efficiency. We've got a lot of blocks to cut, so we're going to cut them in batches, stack them neatly near where we need to use them, and when that's all done we can start laying the next course. Our wet saw can't cut the centre cross piece of these blocks, so we have to finish them off with our grinder. Having all these blocks lined up neatly helps make this an efficient task. After cutting the notches, we knock them out with a hammer, then wash everything down, and then stack them neatly where they're ready to be used.
I'm coming home. It's been so long. You don't have to meet me halfway.
So we're cutting and prepping our blocks for this wall layout. Just going to stack them over here and let them dry. After all that hard work this morning, it's good to take a break. Enjoy this paddock that's right next to me on this job site.
I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Been on the road so long, chasing fame and fortune on the run, but I ain't never felt this free. You rescue me.
Now it's time to get back to cutting some more of this block. I'm going to take you through the process of cutting one of these blocks in real time on my wet saw to show you some of the techniques, safety tips, and how we go about doing this effectively and efficiently. Having our work area clean, neat and organised is key. All the blocks we need to cut have been stacked neatly and are easily accessible for this process. I've set my wet saw up on a stable platform using a small pallet. The wet saw is designed to be operated in a completely flat setup, so the platform that's on rollers can efficiently slide in and out of the cutting zone. We gently glide the block through the cutting edge of the wet saw. There should be no resistance in this process when everything's lined up. We carefully and gently realign the block for each cut, taking extra care to keep our hands clear from the cutting blade. We do slow, controlled cuts The saw cuts much more efficiently when it has time to be at speed and allow the water to keep it cool. So trying to cut too fast on your wet saw will blunt your blade and can lead to accidents. When we've done the final cut on our block, we always turn the wet saw off for safety purposes. When all our cuts are complete, we just tap out our slots with a hammer and stack our block ready for the next process of doing the cutout with a small grinder.
I'm coming home, I'm coming home. I'm coming home, it's been so long, you don't have to meet me halfway.
The slots we're cutting here is for the rebar to be able to pass through the blocks. So these slots have to be big enough for the rebar and a decent amount of concrete to sit around the rebar as part of the engineering process. So we line these up in a row and cut them in a batch for efficiency. We just lightly tap out the cement material to create our gap and then stack our block ready for use later. One of the ways I stay effective in a tedious process like this is to remain completely present as I'm doing it. Kind of get into what I'm doing and stay completely focused on it. This also adds to the safety of how you operate, keeping focused on your tools, which can be dangerous if your mind wanders, and also being body conscious so you can lift everything correctly without injuring yourself. Having a plan for how you stage your working area is also important, so you can keep all your materials moving around in the right place, so you don't end up double handling materials. So placing them in a key place for the next part of your job is really important. Join me on the next episode as we lay all these blocks out that we prepared and get the next course of this wall built. Thanks for joining me this week on my YouTube channel. Check the link below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe button or make a comment so I can help you with your future construction solutions. And don't forget to follow our channel for more ideas and how-to tips for home and garden projects.